I wanted to give back with a little Q&A episode and answer some of your questions. We're going to talk about mismatched libidos, different level of desire in relationships, vibrators, the download on vibrators and why you need them in your life, expanding of our definition of sex beyond penis and vagina, benefits of orgasm, mutual masturbation, getting out of your head during sex. I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. Hey, Superwomen, I wanted to express my extreme gratitude for all of you for tuning in, for listening, for sharing with your friends. The Pleasure Principles podcast is in the top 2.5% of podcasts globally or something. Not exactly sure what that means, but my team tells me it's really, really good. And we would not be there without your support. So first question, help. I listen to your podcast and I'm totally the partner with the higher drive. I've been doing exactly what you said, busying myself with other things, making tons of excuses. But if I am honest, I really feel neglected and not desirable. How do we have a fulfilling sex life when I want sex so much more than my husband? First, we need to normalize having mismatched libidos, especially in long-term relationships. People approach sex differently, just like they approach everything else. Finances, conflict, parenting. And desire will ebb and flow throughout our lifetime. Different stages like postpartum, maybe people have health concerns. And we tend to get into these sticky dynamics where the higher drive partner feels rejected. If she is female, she probably feels broken, not attractive enough, wondering what's wrong with me that my partner isn't wanting sex every day like my friends' partners are. And sometimes that puts superwomen or the women that I work with even more in the masculine pole where we're over functioning, trying to see all the problems or eliminate all the problems so that we can make sure that sex happens, and we're kind of like gripping it. And oftentimes that doesn't feel very sexy. It feels very like planned. And if it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to, you can feel even more let down afterwards. And on the other hand, the lower drive partner feels like they're letting their partner down. Sometimes they're having sex out of obligation or they're even getting resentful. The lower drive partner can often try and avoid intimacy at all costs, where they're getting changed at different times. They're avoiding cuddling. They're saying no to massages and all forms of connection because they're afraid that it will lead to sex. This is really a boundary issue and a communication issue, which I teach in Pleasure Principles. Because if we're shutting down all forms of intimacy, then the person looking for physical connection and intimacy in that way is feeling even more let down. So we don't want sex to be a point of contention between partners. It creates stress that bubbles over into other areas. And we know that sexually satisfied couples are happier, they have better communication, connection. Usually we're not going to fight as much about the finances if we're having really great sex. So when a partner is having sex out of obligation, the other partner can feel it. And oftentimes we're looking for something else. We're looking for deeper, more meaningful connection. So when we're having sex and looking at the clock or running through to-do lists in our heads, we're missing that. We're really lacking that connection. It's like our partner is masturbating with our vaginas. Or the flip side, we can feel it if our male partner is just kind of going through the motions. When we're the high drive female, we really miss the feeling of being pursued, desired like a queen. It doesn't feel great to be initiating all the time, regardless, but I think it can feel even harder if you are the female. So, like I always teach, good sex requires pleasure, presence, and connection. So, let's apply that here to the higher drive female situation. When you are the female partner that wants more sex than your husband, I want you to consider these three things. Number one, do you have a self pleasure practice? And I want us to go against what culture says here. I want us to fulfill our own needs and desires first. This is an area that we are often quite repressed in, that we haven't been allowed to explore to really know what our turn ons and turn offs are. Sometimes we think that self pleasure is cheating. So when we can explore what we want and we like on our own, we can often bring that into partnership and have much more fulfilling sexual encounters for both parties. And usually our turn on, our feminine desire spills over on to your male partner. And it is totally okay to want more sex than your man. The second thing that I want you to consider is, what do you desire? What are you truly desiring? When I'm working with my clients one on one, they're generally desiring connection, intimacy, to feel seen, to feel ravished, relaxation, to feel loved and cared for, like they can just relax and feel good and let go. So, getting in touch with what you really desire, because maybe your partner isn't a yes for penetrative sex, but if you're desiring connection, to have them sit and gaze into your eyes while you tell them about your day. But we need to get to the root of, what do we desire beyond sex? And the third thing that I would like you to consider is, what am I available for right now in this moment? What's my partner really available for right now? So if you just worked out and then your partner came home and wanted you to work out again, you probably wouldn't feel like it. But maybe you both want to go for a walk, or you just ate and your partner comes home and says, "Hey, what do you want to have for dinner?" You might not feel like eating again, but maybe you feel like sitting and having a glass of wine and chatting with them while they eat. We should be approaching sex like this. We should be like, sex equals penis in vagina and then orgasm, or one person orgasms. That really isn't sex. We need to expand our definition of sex and start normalizing things like mutual masturbation. So maybe your partner feels like holding you while you self pleasure. Maybe they will talk dirty to you while you do. Maybe they don't feel like penetrative sex, but going down on you is an option. So, what do you really desire? What are both parties available for in that moment? Next question. I have read your book and you talk a lot about self pleasure, but I have no idea where to start with sex toys. Okay, first off, if you do not have a self pleasure practice, then we need to talk. Second, we're living in a sex toy revolution. There have never been more toys designed for women's pleasure than there are today. And I realized by talking to the women in my groups, like Pleasure Principles, that we're really underutilizing sex toys. We have vibrators that feel like having oral sex, like sucking and licking sensation. There's vibrators made for external stimulation, internal stimulation if you want to practice squirting. Some do both. Some have an app that allow you to control it, allow your partner to control it remotely. It used to be that all sex toys were penis shaped, and now there is so much more to explore when it comes to women's pleasure. And sometimes that can be overwhelming for this women that I work with because they already have so much to do on their plate. The idea of sitting down and researching a sex toy and trying a new sex toy just all feels too overwhelming because their pleasure centers are turned off. So yeah, getting something new and trying something new seems like more stress than it's worth. It's almost worth just staying doing what you're doing, and if it ain't broken, why fix it type situation. But that starves our relationships of novelty. That starves the exploration and growing that a long-term relationship with yourself sexually and a long-term relationship with your partner sexually requires. So let's talk about the benefits of self-pleasure. We have decreased pain, increased self-esteem, anti-aging, better sleep, better immune system function, balancing your hormones. So these are all research proven ways that self-pleasure actually improves your health, and relationships of those that self-pleasure have better communication, better overall relationship satisfaction. So if versus couples that don't. So if you are stuck with these old outdated beliefs that self-pleasure is cheating or dirty or wrong or da 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 da, we need to update because the return on self-pleasure is only amazing benefits. So let's, for the purposes of this episode, focus on vibrators today because we have wands, we have dildos, we have toys for anal play. The sex toy industry is vast and it's only expanding. Vibrators are the most well-known sex toys for women, toys that vibrate to stimulate your genitals. They vary in power and speed. And it's very common for people with vulvas to use vibrators to stimulate their clitoris and other parts of their vulva and vagina. Here's a tip. Vibrators can also be used to stimulate the anus. They can also be used on your partner's scrotum and penis. They're not just for women. So we have external vibrators. These are things like the Magic Wand by Hitachi. This is probably like the most famous, the most popular since the 70s. And today, there are so many more smaller, sleeker, quieter options, great for solo and partner play. I'm thinking about the Sex and the City episode when when Samantha is babysitting Miranda's son, Brady, and his little vibrating chair stops and she uses her vibrator. So, reminder, 70% of people with vulvas reliably orgasm when there is clitoral stimulation. So, less than 30% of women orgasm from penetration alone. You are not broken. So, vibrators are amazing to be used on your own or in partnered play, especially if you need clitoral stimulation to orgasm. Give you some examples by Dame. Small, compact, quiet, discreet, a great place to start if you're entering the sex toy world. We have G-spot vibrators. These are for internal stimulation. Quick note, we're not going to go into this deeply, but if you want more on the G-spot and squirting, let me know. G-spot is a bundle of nerve fibers located inside your vagina, about inch and a half, depends on the person, depends on their anatomy. There is no right or wrong here. It's just, where is your G-spot? Like about a couple knuckles deep towards your belly button. The Dame Arc is a great G-spot vibrator, and I teach more on squirting and the G-spot in Pleasure Principles, so I don't want to spend too much time on that here. But if you're interested in more info, obviously let me know. We have suction vibrators. These feel like oral sex. If you haven't tried them, you should. The WeVibe Melt is a great suction and vibration combo. It's slim, it's great for solo play as well as partnered play. So Divine UK is another company that makes some amazing suction and vibrating vibrators. Also, if the thought of suction skeeves you out, because I have some clients that are just like, no. The Womanizer Pro 40, it stimulates suction with pulses of air without actually touching you. So if suction's not really your thing, totally recommend trying that instead. So we want to kind of ask ourselves, what kind of stimulation do we like? Do we like external stimulation, internal stimulation? Do we want to do this with a partner? I'm obviously recommending that we do a ton of self-exploration first. And a quick note, because I always get this question about like habituating to sensation. So once you're using a vibrator, that you can only orgasm with your vibrator. So our brains habituate to sensation, meaning if you're only using a vibrator and consistently using it, you're going to need to up the speed and intensity to continue to have orgasm. And women find it harder to orgasm with a partner or without a vibrator. It's like if you have one glass of wine, then eventually you're going to need 2 glasses of wine to get the same feeling. So we need to mix it up, superwomen. Make time and space for your pleasure. Because I find a lot of us that even if we are self-pleasuring, it is like, let's be efficient about this. Let's fit this in, fastest, easiest way, know what works to get yourself off. And that's that. And we're not varying routine and position and pace, which is very important so that we are not just doing the same old thing. Next question. How do I get out of my head during sex? I would love to report that this is probably something that 90% of the women that I work with say, that they have such a hard time being present during sex. They're thinking about their to-do list. They're thinking about emails that need to be sent. And the reason is that we are living in such a state of adrenal dysfunction, fight, flight, or freeze, where the pleasure centers in our brain are turned off. We are not resting, enjoying, really being in the experience. We are in survival mode. We are thinking, we are doing, we are action taking. We're not in being. So if we're in that state of adrenal dysregulation and then we lay down, we try and relax, it's hard for us to do it. We're like, oh, what about this? What about that? Making a million things up in our head that we have to go do instead of being able to be. So when the pleasure centers in our brain are turned off, it is actually so hard to be present. It's actually so hard to enjoy touch and enjoy pleasurable sensations. So my tips of getting out of your head during sex is number 1, be prepared. So this is good for superwomen. Environment. Environment is key and it has so much to do with turn on. So think about like really great hotel sex or vacation sex and how the room felt and how the sheets feel. Setting up your environment, having sheets on the bed that you love, making sure your room is a clutter-free space to begin with. I cannot say enough about how much environment and turn on go hand in hand. If you're looking at a pile of dirty laundry that needs to be done, you're having a harder time being present and being in your body and in the sensation. Another tip, relax first. So taking time to have a bath, to listen to audio erotica. Dipsy is my favorite app. I think they need to start paying me because of how many people I've referred. Read an erotic novel. So your turn on is your responsibility. If you are like, I talk about our pleasure pulse. So 0 is like turned off, crusty, frozen, tumbleweeds, and 10 is orgasm. If you're like a 0 and you're bringing that to your partner or that to a sexual encounter, there's so much work to be done. But if you take your bath and listen to your audio erotica, maybe you're going to come into that interaction at a 4 or 5, where we're turning on, we're awakening those pleasure centers in our brains. Another tip is softening. This is probably one of the women that I work with, like their favorite tip of all time is softening. If we want to bring more sensation to an area, we need to soften it. So if we're having sex and our pussies feel numb, soften them, relax them. I teach specific exercises on how to do this in Pleasure Principles. If you're kissing and you don't have as much sensation, soften your lips. And that goes hand in hand with oftentimes slowing down the pace. So being able to effectively communicate that in the moment without putting your partner on tilt is key. Another thing that you can do is in the moment, ground yourself through deep breathing. What is something that I can see? What is something that I can touch? What is something that I can taste? What is something that I can smell? So if we're grounding ourselves in our senses and in our bodies, that's where we need to be for the amazing, mind-blowing sex, not up in our heads. So we touched on a lot there. Please DM me with your questions. I want to do more of these episodes and tailor the content specifically to you and your experience. Would love to hear what you want to know more about. Well, let's be honest, you have accomplished a hell of a lot and have very little pleasure to show for it. You have the house, the car, the bags, you take the vacations, but your pleasure tank is low. You sometimes even feel like you're watching life go by from a bird's eye view. You take the courses, you invest in yourself, you work out, you eat well, you do the things that most people want to do, and yet you're not as happy as you want to be. Something is still missing. You might even think, what is wrong with me? These are things that I hear from super women all the time. You're settling for a low pleasure tank because you think that that is the cost of having financial success, freedom. And that means that you have to sacrifice having the good sex and connection too. That somehow it's not possible for you to have it all. If this speaks to you and you want to feel energetic, desired, turned on, without sacrificing any of your power, without adding more to your already overwhelming to-do list, there are 2 ways to work with me right now. Applications to my one-on-one coaching is open. At the time I'm recording this, I have 2 spots available for the super women ready to have the success and the good sex. You're ready to create more pleasure without sacrificing what you have built. You know that there is something missing. You might even be afraid that if you lean into pleasure, you'll lose your edge or blow up your life. I'm here to tell you that this is easier and more fun than you might think. When you learn what you truly desire, when you learn how to ask for it and receive it, we open you up to a whole new level of energy, health, wealth, connection. So here's what's going to happen. Fill out an application so I can get to know you and know what's going on a little more. Then you will hear from me within 72 hours. Make sure to check your junk mail. We're going to get on a call to discuss what's going on with you and what options are best to work with me. We're going to put the link to the application in the show notes. So if this speaks to you, you know it. There's this internal calling to my work. It's like she's speaking to me. She's in my head. Do not wait. Don't make the excuses for after this quarter, after this launch, after the kids finish school. Let's have a call and start making a plan that works for you today. Would you wait for an issue this pivotal, affecting you this much, costing you this much in your business? You wouldn't. You would have applied already. So hit that apply button. Would love to hear from you and cannot wait to connect.